Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be organizing the Unmatched Series, designed by Rob Davio and Justin D. Jacobson and published by Restoration Games and Mondo. This is a fully sleeved, fully expanded collection of the Unmatched Series with all of the content from the original Battle of Legends Volume 1 up to the most recent Dr. Sattler versus the T-Rex. This organization system was designed to make sure that you can mix and match all of the characters from all of the Unmatched sets in a logical, space-conscious way. If you have any questions about what you see here, please let me know down in the comments below, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. With all that being said, let's get started organizing Unmatched Battle of Legends. Before getting into the boxes, I want to talk about the two boxes we use to store all of our components, starting off with one of our large boxes, the Battle of Legends Volume 2 boxes, and a Super Monster box from BCW. The BCW Super Monster storage boxes are my go-to for games that have a whole bunch of cards, but we take it a step further here and further subcategorize the different cards inside, as you'll see in a second. As time goes on and more expansions are released, you'll probably need to replace this Battle of Legends box with another BCW box. I recommend the Monster Storage box at first because it's got a lot of area and can fit all of the boards as well as your other components very nicely. It's a nice step up and not too big. With that all being said, let's dive into this first box here, the Battle of Legends Volume 2 box. Let's lift off the lid, and inside you'll see that we have all of our boards on top. Starting off with all of our large boards, these are all of the ones from the larger expansions, including the Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2, our Marvel sets, our Buffy set, and then of course our Cobble and Fog set, and lastly our original Battle of Legends Volume 1 set here. So those are all going to be drapes on the top there. Underneath our large boards, we have all of our smaller boards, including our Jurassic Park boards, our Robin Hood board, our Beowulf board, and then of course our second Jurassic Park board here. Those will all be on that right side. Underneath all of your game boards, we have all of our rules for the game. These are for all of the different sets that have specific rules for characters with special abilities or different ways that they work. The only two rulebooks that you don't actually need to have in the game box are Robin Hood vs. Bigfoot and Battle of Legends Volume 1, because there's no special rules for the characters. They're all very straightforward and simple. So you don't actually need to keep these in the box. You can recycle them, but you can store them all if you want to keep them for collection's sake. And one more thing about these rulebooks, if you keep them inside of the box here, it is going to have a bit of lid lift, but if you feel pretty comfortable with the rules, you can remove them to remove the lid lift completely. So it's up to you if you want to store these or not. We've got some silica gel packets for freshness in here, as well as a die that we use to determine the first player. We've got a small bag containing our doors, if you decide to use that, from the Beowulf and Red Riding Hood expansion. And our last item in this box is a small drawstring bag. You can get these from the BGG store for these nice microfiber bags, or you can get them off of Amazon. Once again, I'll leave a link in the description of this video so you can find anything that I talk about here. But these bags are super nice, and they have enough room for you to stick your whole hand in there and pick out your tokens. But what are the bags for? Inside the bag, we actually have all of the item tokens for the Marvel maps. You'll randomly draw a couple of these tokens, and based on their color, you'll populate the board where they belong. I really like using the coin capsules because you can shuffle them around and then place them into the appropriate areas, and they're perfectly sized for these tokens here. It's a great way to mix and match your different Marvel tokens to increase that variety for game to game. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find coin capsules for your item tokens. They only fit the item tokens though, as all the other tokens in this game are just a bit big to be able to fit into these. You could trim them down to fit them in, but I do think that this works perfectly for those item tokens. With all that being said, let's go ahead and put away our Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2 box with all of its non-fighter components. First off, we'll put in all those rule books in the upper right, followed by our smaller battle maps. We've got our Marvel items in their drawstring bag, all of the Beowulf doors, silica gel packets for freshness, and then our die to determine the first player. On top of that, we'll put all of our larger battle maps. And that is everything in the Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2 box. I'll go ahead and show this to you on camera, but with those rulebooks inside, you have a smidge of lid lift. As mentioned, if you remove those rulebooks, there will be no lid lift for this box at all. And you can also always upgrade to one of those larger BCW white boxes to reduce the lid lift completely and be ready for future expansions. With that all being said, let's move the Battle of Legends Volume 2 box out of the way and get into our main Super Monster Storage box. Before I get in, I do want to mention quickly that you can actually print out the logo for Unmatched and affix them using tape. That way you can see clearly what the box is for if you are using a lot of these BCW storage boxes. I do recommend doing this so you can see at a glance which box you're grabbing for. Without further ado, let's lift off the lid here, and inside you'll see that we have all of the fighters here in their own individual boxes. For each character in the game, we use the Burger Tokens brand 100 sleeved sized deck boxes. They're perfect fit, and they do work perfectly for storing all of the cards for a specific character, as well as their miniature and any accompanying tokens. Let's take a look at one of them. Let's start on the right here with our Beowulf box. As you can see, the cards are sort of slanted on the other components here, so you can easily see the character's artwork at a glance when you're looking at a bit of an angle. So this works really well for identifying which character you want to see and what to play with. With that being said, you can go further into this organization by flipping the cards around so that the names of the characters are nice and frontal, so you can easily see what they are, or you can even put labels or use Sharpie to mark the tops of these so you can see them from that top-down point of view. It's up to you how you want to organize these. To sleeve all of the cards in the game, we use the Ultra Pro Matte Deck Protector brand sleeves. I love the way that they shuffle, the way that they feel, and I really like the matte finish on them. You'll use these sleeves for every single card in the Unmatched series. With that being said, let's take a look inside one of these boxes. We'll lift open those tabs and then pour out everything into our hand here. We've got all of our cards for our characters in the game with their identification on the back here with their special ability. And as mentioned before, you can have either side facing, whatever's easier for you to recognize which character you're picking. Aside from the cards, we have all of the other components for each character, including their health dials. We have one for the main hero as well as one for the ally, and then you'll have the miniature itself. As you can see, we've gone ahead and trimmed the outside of the original miniature tray for Beowulf, and that way he's still staying nice and stable, and nothing is going to get bent or damaged while he's stored in his own special box. For all of the miniatures, a simple pair of scissors should do the trick, but there are some that are a little bit more tricky that you may want to use an X-Acto knife for. It's up to you how comfortable you are with using either of these tools. And finally, the last components that you'll put into the boxes are any additional tokens, like the Rage tokens for Beowulf, and the Ally tokens themselves. So once again, everything will be stored for a single character in one box. Let's go ahead and pack up one of these character boxes. We'll put all those tokens in there with the Sidekick. We'll put the miniature for the main character there. We'll put all of the health dials on top of that miniature to keep it nice and snug. And then lastly, we'll put in those Beowulf cards on the top like so. Close the tabs, close that top, and then boom, you've got your battle box for your Beowulf character. In order to fit all of the battle boxes into the BCW box here, you will need to remove the dividers that come with them normally, because you're not going to be just keeping card rows in here. You've obviously got those large miniatures that are taking up an irregular amount of space as well. You can use 2 of these if you'd like in these bottom 2 sections, and then keep the T-Rex in the upper section. It's up to you once again how you want to organize this section. So all of the fighters are going to follow this organizing convention with the cards, health dials, miniature, and then additional tokens in the back. But there are 2 fighters in particular that I want to talk about that are a little bit more tricky. The first fighter is pretty obvious. It's the T-Rex here. You're actually going to take the original T-Rex insert and trim all the way around it so that it fits nicely into that corner there. You'll have the health dial for the T-Rex here, and if you've upgraded the Ian Malcolm, his piece would be down there as well. And then you'll have your extra token, your insight token. You actually only play with 5, but for some reason they give you 6. So I find it's a bit confusing when you're playing with Dr. Ellie Sattler and Dr. Ian Malcolm to have that 6th one. It just confuses new players. So we've gone ahead and removed it from that token set there. So all of your T-Rex pieces will be in this section, but the cards will be placed somewhere else. Seeing as there's going to be no miniatures, we actually use the size 37S smaller box here for the T-Rex cards. It fits the card deck for the T-Rex perfectly, and this may be an option for you if you still want to organize your cards, but you don't feel comfortable with all of this other organization system. These will fit all of the card sets generally for the different fighter characters, and I think they work really well, and you can still see that artwork for the T-Rex on the back here. And the last character I want to talk about, funnily enough, is the other Jurassic Park character, and these are the Raptors. The Raptors have a pretty tight fit because they are going to have 3 individual large miniatures, but you're going to need to cut them carefully on the sides here so that they do all fit into that single box. But they will if you cut around them perfectly. Through careful cutting using something like the X-Acto knife, your Raptors should look something like this when they're finished. This is going to be a little bit tricky and will take some time and patience, but I do think it's worth the effort because they will still all fit back into that box when you're finished. So let's go ahead and put away that Raptor box as well as our large T-Rex miniature in this upper right corner. And that's everything inside of our Super Monster storage box. So that's organizing the complete collection of the Unmatched series. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you organize your collection of the Unmatched series? Who's your favorite character to play as? What's your favorite Unmatched set in general? What's your favorite map to play on? Which characters would you like to see in future Unmatched sets? We'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.